Alright, hello and welcome to another WoW Use. So, today we're going to be talking about Guandao. I believe that's how you say the name of this weapon. It is in an interesting position, as this is a weapon that you can get very, very early on, and it is somewhat competing with the Orthos Prime, mostly due to its absolutely massive range. So, this weapon, I'm going to suggest that you should get it early is the thing, because of some much later game mods such as, let's say, Maiming Strike. The Orthos Prime is going to outperform this weapon, but this weapon works very well as like a mid-game thing. You can get it very easily. It costs like almost nothing to build. Using the regular versions of Pressure Point and Reach are just fine on this weapon, and everything else in this build is mods that you're gonna get anyway. Like Virulent Scourge and Vicious Frost are both very, very easy to get. Organ Shatter, you don't really get a choice whether or not you pick that up. Berserker is a mod you're going to want to pick up anyway for other melee weapons. Same with Drifting Contact, same with Blood Rush, doesn't need to be maxed. It's a really simple build to put together, and one of the major advantages of this weapon is that it doesn't need Forma. So at MR4, when you can get this weapon, putting together a quite good build for this is pretty simple, and the massive range of this weapon is going to be very, very useful to you. We're just clearing large groups of weak enemies. And with this build, it does level 50 test pretty simply. The largest problem with this is the Ancient Healers, as you might imagine, Ancient Healers, as you might imagine, are protecting all of the other enemies, so you have to make sure that they die so that you can kill the rest of the enemies. And hitting just the Ancient Healers is a little hard whenever you can hit everyone. So, with that, let's get started. The Simulacrum is a little bit changed in the way enemies spawn and stuff, so it'll be a little weird, as now they all kind of spawn clumped up, and you kind of gotta wait for them to spread out, so that it's not, like, really easy for this weapon to do the tests. Because if you just, like, wade in with this weapon with the range that it has, you can walk into that big, massive group and hit every single enemy in it, because of the very high range this weapon does have. Also, as you can see, this weapon is going to do quite a few stuns on enemies, so you're going to get some good stumbles off in there. And like this, you can see the absurd range that this weapon has. Like, these are just basic strikes. Like, it's really good, and it's in a nice little area around you. You can use spin attacks to hit everybody in an area, although, of course, for those of you that have used the Orthos Prime, you already know that that is incredibly powerful with Maiming Strike. But as, like, a lower-level option, this is really pretty fantastic. And, of course, it doesn't have momentum, but it's an early-game option. It's really not even meant for these enemies. Like, the level 50s are honestly probably beyond what you'd even want to take this weapon to normally. But it performs quite well. Honestly, this weapon, if it got primed, because of its slash-based nature and the rest of the stats that it has, and like the nice critical damage that it has with the good critical chance, if they primed this weapon and gave it, like, say, 20% status chance, it would be absurdist. And probably the single worst thing about this weapon is that there aren't very good polearm stances. Like, it takes out enemies just fine. And, like, at lower levels, you're going to shred with this. If you get this at MR4 and you have a very basic build for it, you're going to, like, mop shit up, and it's going to be real good for you. Yeah, the biggest thing is that the stances for polearms in general are kind of poor. Like, Shimmering Blight and, what's the full name? Weeping? Bleeding Willow. Bleeding Willow just aren't very good in general. So if we get a better polearm stance, that alone might make this an even more, like, good and viable option. But as it stands right now, like, if you can get this at its MR lock, it's going to do you real well. And then even beyond that, for, like, lower level stuff, there's absolutely no problem with this weapon. And it actually outperforms some weapons that would do, like, higher damage, because at those lower end levels that you're going to be seeing for, honestly, the majority of the time, just the insane reach on this weapon is going to be a lot more useful to you in those cases. Of course, the most important thing, if you're going to use this much later, though, as we have been talking about it a lot, is Primed Reach. Primed Reach, giving this weapon that already has like good distance, way more distance, is super, super powerful. So that is useful to keep in mind. But overall, it's not like a super impressive weapon, but it's accessible, and it's really good for new players, and it's a good option as a melee weapon in general earlier on. And I don't think there's really much more I can ask of this weapon, honestly. It's in a really good position MR-wise, and like it costs very few resources. So that's the Guandao, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.